All right, today we're jumping into HarperDB. It's a distributed database that's really shaking things up by promising developers simplicity, speed, and flexibility, all without forcing you to make any compromises.
So, to really get why this matters, we've got to set the stage. Let's talk about this classic and honestly super frustrating choice that developers have been stuck with for years.
You know, for the longest time, the database world was kind of split in two. You had your SQL camp over here, super structured, very predictable, but let's be honest, rigid. Then you had the NoSQL camp, wildly flexible, but man, it could get complex and unwieldy real fast. You basically had to pick your poison, and it was a trade-off everyone just sort of accepted.
But what if you didn't have to make that trade-off? What if you could have both? Well, back in 2017, a team of founders asked that exact question, and they set out to build the answer.
And their mission was crystal clear. And pretty ambitious, really. They wanted to get rid of the headache, the complexity of having to stitch together totally different database systems just for one single project. It was just too much. And this mission statement, it's really the key to everything. The focus here wasn't just about mashing features together. Nope. It was about making seriously powerful tools easy to use, accessible to everyone. And how? By using the standard language of the web that we all already know. That's a huge philosophical shift right there.
So, that sounds great, right? But how do they actually pull it off? Let's dig into the architecture, because that's where the magic really happens.
Okay, so the whole thing is built on these four big ideas, these pillars. It's schema flexible, it's REST native, it's distributed from the ground up, and it's totally ready for the edge. This is the secret sauce that lets it work everywhere, from a giant cloud server all the way down to some tiny sensor out in the field.
Now, that term, REST native, that's a really big deal. It completely changes the game for how developers talk to the database. We're talking no more complex drivers, no more special connectors you have to install. Seriously, if you know how to make a basic web request, you can use HarperDB. It's that simple.
And look at this, it shows you just how straightforward it is. You craft a web request, you send it, you get your data back in JSON. That's it. You're literally just using the universal language of the web to talk to your database. The barrier to entry just evaporates.
And this right here, this is the heart of it all. This is that hybrid model in action. You can dump all your flexible, messy data in as JSON. Think product catalogs, sensor data, you name it. But then, and this is the killer part, you can turn right around and query it using good old SQL that you already know and love. It's the best of both worlds, truly. No more trying to force data from one system into another.
Okay, so that's the big idea. But what does this actually mean for a developer on a Tuesday afternoon? Let's look at the practical stuff.
See, HarperDB isn't just a place to store data. It's more like a full-on platform. It comes loaded with these awesome built-in tools. You can run your own code inside the database with custom functions. You've got security baked right in, and you can even do real-time messaging. This stuff just speeds everything up and makes those tricky tasks way, way simpler. And because it's so flexible, you see it popping up in all sorts of places. We're talking Internet of Things devices out in the wild, massive retail and logistics systems tracking packages across the globe, and of course, your everyday mobile and web apps. It's that versatile.
So to really see where it fits in, let's put it side by side with some other players in the space. What makes HarperDB really different?
Okay, so what makes it stand out? It really boils down to a few things, and they're all about making life easier for developers. That REST native thing we talked about, pure simplicity. The unified SQL and NoSQL model, that gets rid of those painful choices. And the fact that it's built for the edge from day one is huge for modern apps. It all adds up to what you might call developer ergonomics. It just feels better to use.
And when you look at this comparison, you can see it plain as day. That mix of the hybrid SQL plus NoSQL model with a REST API as the main way you talk to it, well, that carves out a really unique spot for HarperDB. It's not trying to be exactly like Firebase or Couchbase. It's built for a different kind of developer, a different kind of project.
So, the big takeaway here is pretty simple. HarperDB's whole mission is to be that one database that gives you the structure of SQL when you need it and the flexibility of NoSQL when you need that, without forcing you to pick one and suffer the consequences.
Which kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? With databases like this one coming onto the scene, is that old wall between SQL and NoSQL finally starting to crumble for good? I don't know, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.